Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Learn Tarot with Moxxie podcast. It's me, Michelle, and boy, today is August 8th, and this was supposed to have been published 40 minutes ago, so we're running a little bit behind this week. But in my defense, we are getting ready. We're going on just a little vacation, going to see my stepson, who is in the Coast Guard, and he's in Maine. So we are getting ready to head out to Maine for a few days, and I'm just trying to get all my things done before I go. I hope that those of you who had a happy, energetic reading last week are taking advantage and putting a lot of that positive energy to use. And for those of us who didn't have such a great, happy energy reading for the month of August, well, we just keep moving on and do the best we can do and look forward to the next month. All right, so this month we're going to be doing another Q&A episode, and I want to thank you for the questions that you're sending in. I really do appreciate them. Remember that you can send them to me at my email address, michelle@moxxiecoaching.com, and Moxxie has two X's, Moxxie. You can also send them to me on TikTok. A couple people have reached out to me there, and that's fun because I can do a little short video on the question right there at the moment, and then I can also flesh out the answer to that question here on the air. So I really enjoy both of those. So please remember to keep sending your questions in. There aren't any limits on what types of questions you can ask. If you come up with something that just seems way too out there, way more challenging for me to answer on the air than I think is realistic, then we just won't go there. But please send me any questions about, how to do the readings, the card interpretations, which cards to choose, getting set up, really anything in the realm of tarot. Because that is the whole focus of this podcast, is to teach you folks how to use the tarot in a way that works for you, in a way that allows you to use it as an additional tool in your self-help personal development toolbox, right? I don't want you guys to have to be going out and spending, $300 or even $100 on a tarot reading, right? This is something that you can do yourself. And I think in the process of doing this yourself, learning to do these tarot readings yourself, you're also going to really learn a lot about yourself. And in my book, that's always a good thing, right? The more we know about ourselves, the more we can step back and look at things objectively, the easier it can be to make the changes that we need to make. So please continue to send in those questions. A reminder also, we're not having so much luck with this one, although I did have someone reach out today, so thank you very much. Just as a reminder, I'm also offering free on-the-air tarot readings. And the purpose of this is twofold. Number one, because like I said in earlier episodes, I am scaling back the tarot work that I'm doing and really kind of going out and looking for some other work. One of my past episodes, I talked a little bit about how I'm finding that I really don't like being my own boss, but I do enjoy this part of everything that I'm doing. So let's continue the podcast, right? So doing these readings on the air is twofold. Number one, it is helping me, or hopefully will help me, get over the Jones that I have to do readings, because I miss doing them. I really do. I enjoy them a lot. So that's a selfish thing on my part. But these readings are also full-on traditional tarot readings with a teaching component mixed in. And the idea is that you'll be able to be there to ask any questions you want to ask, any questions that you have of me about how I'm coming to the conclusions I'm coming to. I feel like a lot of times when we have readings, most of the time when we have readings, we don't put ourselves in a position of feeling comfortable enough to actually ask the person that's doing the reading some questions. And that is what I want. That's the barrier that I really want to break down with these readings is, how did you come up with that? How did you, how is it that you, based on these three cards, are giving me this potential outcome? So if you are looking for a tarot reading, and if you are willing to go on the air with me completely confidentially, if that's something that you want to do, we don't have to get into who you are, your name, any personal information. We can avoid all of that. But if you are somebody who wants to get on the air with me and talk a little bit about, what you're doing and share a little bit with everybody, then that would be fun too. So just re-inviting all of you to send me that information. If you have a question, you don't really even need to reach out and say, hey, are you still doing this? Because yes, I'm doing it. So please just reach out with your question, and I will keep a catalog of questions. I'll get back with you if your question is the one that is chosen, and we will get something scheduled. So don't be shy. I'm really looking forward to this, and I think it could be something fun and a fun way to kind of build a little bit of community, which I think is tough to do via podcasting. Just a reminder about the types of questions I prefer to answer. Just a reminder about the types of questions I really like to work with the tarot. Meaning these are the types of questions that are more likely to get chosen, right? Questions that are related to your personal growth and development, related to a challenge that you're trying to overcome, something you're trying to achieve, something you're trying to, a habit you're trying to break. Goal setting, problem solving, personal development-ish questions are the ones that I am the most likely to gravitate toward, because that's really where the fun is and the juice is for me, is to use the cards and to help people begin to see the answers for themselves in a way that can help them feel like they have the power to empower themselves. And I just get a lot out of that. So those are the types of questions that I'm looking for. It doesn't mean that I won't ever go down the, romance relationship arena. Happy to do that, especially if it's in the realm of personal growth and development, right? I'm just trying to avoid anything that just seems like your online, whip off quick answers about your soulmate and your twin flame and when you're going to make $1 million. That's not what we're here for. We're looking for people who want to dig a little bit deeper and really be willing to do the work so you can actually receive the reward. All right, let's jump into the questions. The first question, it was an interesting one, and it almost makes me wonder if it wasn't just sort of to spark conversation, because I'm not sure there is a right answer for this one. There certainly is not a right answer for me. But the question is, if you had to choose between tarot and astrology, which would you choose? Now, I don't talk a whole lot about astrology on Learn Tarot with Moxxie for obvious reasons. In addition to the fact that I'm not qualified, right? I am not qualified to talk about astrology at that level. I would consider myself an astrology infant. I'm just now starting to dip my toe into things that are above and beyond, our daily fun horoscope. I'm starting to look at, my chart and all of those things. I had my first real astrology reading last year. Fascinating. Thought it was amazing. So clearly for me, tarot would be my choice if I had to choose between tarot and astrology. However, astrology is fascinating, and I think they complement one another in that astrology is, I look at it as more factual, which I know seems crazy to anybody who, really looks at things from an extremely scientific method, provable perspective, right? I totally get that. But astrology, because it is so based on math, and it just seems in a lot of ways very, very clear cut, in that it can show us, where we are, where we're headed. If we are headed into a period of challenge, potential challenge, if we are headed into a period of relative ease, astrology can give us the heads up and give us the opportunity to act accordingly. And I think you guys all know by now, I am not a fated type person. I don't believe that anything is fated. Maybe it's because I'm too much of a control freak, but I also really thoroughly appreciate hard science. So I don't think things are fated, and I don't think astrology is going to tell me, oh, look out because this year is absolutely going to suck. Don't take that for what I'm trying to say. But what I do believe astrology can do is point us or show us that there are forces at work that are creating situations and energies around us that make things easier or more difficult, or this or that or the other. And I'm finding personally that by paying attention to transits, paying attention to what's going on in my sign on a deeper level than I used to, has been really helpful. It's helpful for me, not so much in planning. I'm not to that level yet. I'm just not. And I'm not in a position to, hire a professional astrologer to follow me around. So at this point, I use astrology as a way to check my energy, check what's going on. If I'm having a particularly challenging day or challenging week or whatever, very often I have found that when I look at the astrology or my astrology related to that day or that week or that time span, there has been something funky and challenging going on. So what that allows me to do, either proactively where I'm paying attention to my transits ahead of time, or even reactively when I'm just having an absolutely shitty week and I don't know why and I haven't paid attention, and I can go back and look at my transits and say, oh yeah, okay, this is why I'm having a challenging week. Okay, this was here as a possibility. So that is astrology. That's why I like it, because it's an affirmation of, yep, things are challenging right now. You're not losing your marbles. You're not being a baby. You're not being overly, sensitive or empathic. Or, nope. Everything seems to be fairly calm in your chart right now, and whatever's going on is something other than just astrological stuff that you need to cope with right now. And that's the stuff that the tarot helps with, right? That's where we can get into, I'm feeling this way, help me understand why I'm feeling this way. Help me understand what to do about feeling this way. Help me understand what I can do, where I have control, or where I need to release some energy or control or whatever it is, So I look at the tarot and astrology as really beautiful companions. I wish I knew more about astrology. I wish I could give you a better, more thorough answer than that. But from my perspective, and I suspect more people are like me, in that, we don't have great deep knowledge of all of the planets and all of the transits and, all of these things. But having a working knowledge, having enough of a knowledge of the astrology now that I feel like I can answer this question, I would say that both. I would never choose one over the other. Astrology is going to help me know what's coming up for me in the next 6 months. And is there a spell or is there a time that, there's a window of opportunity where things are particularly flowing nicely? Am I running into some kind of retrograde or a square or something? So that's the big picture. And then the tarot helps me with the little picture things. And if anybody out there is an astrology genius and wants to share, I would love to have you on the air, because I really do think that tarot and astrology play so nicely together, and I would love to learn more, and I'm assuming others would as well. All right, so this is a different type of question. This is a question, but I appreciate it being asked, because as someone who has my own art out there, who wants to have credit for my own art and my own work, I really understand, at least on some level, how frustrating this must be. So this is the question. Can you get good quality tarot cards from places like AliExpress and Temu? Now, if you're not familiar with these companies, to the best of my knowledge, they are companies that sell almost anything you would want. They're kind of like an Amazon, but everything they sell is just ridiculously cheap. For whatever reason. I don't know. I've never shopped at any of these places. I don't know if it's poor quality. I don't know if it's just, goodness knows who's creating all of these products and how they're being treated, all of that kind of stuff. I don't know. But what I do know, and what I have read, is that sites like this have been borrowing some of the indie tarot card designers' work, printing the cards and selling the cards at ridiculous prices, $3 for a deck of cards. I looked at cards on these sites because I really, like everybody, I love tarot cards. And I like to do tarot card reviews. Thought, well, that would be perfect, right? I could just buy 10 or 15 decks and, do the reviews. And then when I started to look at it, it's like, well, wait a second. How is it that this tarot deck that I purchased from Barnes & Noble or my local metaphysical store is $3 on this website, and this deck cost me $45? Something is fishy here. So that's when I started to do the research. And again, I would just say, if buying a deck off Temu is the absolute only way you could possibly afford a deck, then I would say maybe go ahead and do it and work off the karma later. But if you can avoid it, buy a used deck and clear it, or just save up a little bit longer for the very ubiquitous and very inexpensive Rider-Waite deck. That is a deck that, if you're going to find one that is used, that's probably easy to find, and I'm pretty sure you can get that deck for under $20. I mean, it might be $19.99, but fairly inexpensively. So good quality. I don't know about the quality of the work of these cards, but in terms of karmic debt and just really not being fair to all of these indie designers who put so much time and effort and love into these decks that they create. I've looked at creating a deck. When I get all inspired, it's like, oh, I'm just feeling so artistic right now. And I might even, design a card or two. And then I step back and I think, I got 76 more of these things to do. And this isn't like, designing a greeting card, right? Tarot cards are at least I think, they take a lot of thought. They take a lot of pondering and insight, and it is not a small feat to develop your own tarot deck. Even if it is something I could care less about, I don't like, I find aesthetically unpleasing, good on anybody who took the time and the effort and the commitment to develop their own tarot deck. And I would never in a million years undercut them by buying one off of one of those websites. Okay, that's my little soapbox for today. This question made me laugh. And I'm not sure I agree with it, but it did make me laugh, and I totally understand it. And the question is, why are the swords the worst suit? And I guess the swords do somewhat have a bad rap, right? You know, we have cups, which are emotion and love and ooey gooey and intuition and all of those things. And we have wands that are just go get 'em action. You know, what modern society doesn't think all of life should be about wands. And we also have, pentacles, which are related to money and finance and business and material things. And then we have the swords that are related to ideas and thoughts. And a lot of times they are related to conflict because they're related to ideas and thoughts. And because we're human, conflict is part of that. And that is just where we go a lot of times when we get into the realm of swords. So I don't necessarily believe that any one suit is better than another, but I do understand, there are some very, very, very challenging cards in the swords. Now the Ace of Swords, though, Ace of Swords is a great card, right? New ideas, new thoughts, new energy in that realm. The Four of Swords is a card that I rarely hear anybody talk about, but that is not a negative card, right? It's not a bad card. It's about resting and about rejuvenating and preparing. Now, it is about preparing for something that could be challenging, but the whole idea is this is a card of rest and relaxation and rejuvenation. Let's see what other cards I can defend here. All right. The Knight of Swords, you want the Knight of Swords coming to your rescue. He thinks about things ahead of time. He has a plan, and he knows how to execute it. Queen of Swords, you just don't want to be on the other side of her. You don't want to be standing in front of her being reprimanded. But I'll tell you what, Queen of Swords is somebody I'd want to have on my team if I was working on a business deal that had complex legal language or complex something or other. Maybe it's a financial deal or whatever. That's the type of person you want on there. King of Swords, similar thing. Page of Swords. Page could be saying, we're bringing new messages and ideas with us, right? We got the Page of Swords bringing ideas, new, young energy, young ideas, changing things up a little bit. And the rest of these, here we go. Six of Swords, moving on to better things, right? You're leaving behind all of the craziness and you're moving into a more calm sphere. And yes, there are some very challenging cards as well. But, there are challenging cards in the entire deck, right? There are challenging cards throughout the whole deck. So I will agree with you that, some of these cards can be difficult. But remember, there's always the reversed meaning. And so just because a card is coming up as a sword card, don't assume, if it's reversed and you read reversals, then you're all set. I think really our favorite cards are the cards we need at the moment. And it could be where your favorite card at the moment is going to be the Five of Swords, right? Because that card of somebody being a jerk, right? Of someone deciding that their way is the only way and they're going to do whatever it is they need to do to accomplish their end goal. Well, knowing that about someone, maybe you're looking at getting into a work relationship or a personal relationship with someone, and this card is coming up as representing them. So, while the card can be a challenging card in and of itself, for any tarot card, the key is where it's coming up in the spread. Is it upright or is it reversed? And what does your intuition say? And how does it apply to this particular situation? Because every situation is different. I think maybe this question came up fairly recently, but it's an important one, so I want to go over it again, and I'll just make this very quick. The question is, when should I not read tarot cards? And to this, I would say whenever you feel like you are not going to be able to be in a space of openness and connectivity with whatever it is or whoever it is you connect with when you're reading the tarot. So, for example, for me, when I'm reading the tarot, I have a tendency to lean on my higher self. I have developed a relationship with my higher self where I can sort of just be and ask questions and feel into the answers that I'm getting and that type of thing. And that is how, when I'm really getting deep into a tarot reading, that's where I'm going. That's what I'm doing. I'm tapping into that connection with my higher self. When I'm really upset, or when I'm angry or frustrated or sad, or when my emotions are such that I'm unable to lock in to that higher self mode that I feel is the most beneficial place for me to be when I'm doing a reading. If I'm not able to do that, then that tells me I need to calm down and come back to the reading in a time when I can get more centered, when I can connect with my higher self. That's just me. But I was also the kid in school who could not listen to music and get my homework done, right? I need that certain clarity, that certain type of mental headspace. So if you're someone who either taps into something different when you read the tarot, or if you're someone who is able to fairly easily step out of the drama that you're in and lock in to a tarot reading, then more power to you, and use your cards whenever it makes sense to you. I have just found that if I'm not in the right headspace when I do a reading, and this is related specifically to readings for myself, if I'm not in the right headspace, if I'm not in this open headspace of learning and listening and accepting and feeling and all of those things, then I'm not going to get out of the reading what I want to get out of it or what I need to get out of it. It's like the frequency is blocked. But like I said, if you're someone who can compartmentalize better than that, then you probably can read the tarot at any time. And again, this person wasn't specific about whether they were reading the cards for themselves or reading the cards for others. When reading for others, it's a little bit easier to separate from the emotion. When reading for the others, it's a little bit easier to do that compartmentalizing. So really the question about when should I not be reading the cards is just a personal question that every person who reads is going to have to answer. And it might be different for whether they're reading for other people, whether they're reading for themselves. It might be different based on the day. It might be different based on a lot of things. But just if you sit down and you feel like there is an energy around you that just will not settle, if your brain, after sitting for a few minutes, is just continuously going off in a million different directions, then this probably is not the time when you're going to have the most impactful or the most fruitful reading. And I just would always suggest leave the cards, walk away, get yourself centered, go for a walk, do whatever it is you need to do or want to do that helps you, come back to a space where you can be where you can be more open, where you can be more able to receive and able to energetically communicate, then you should be good. All right, that is it for this week's questions. Next week, we may not have an episode depending on how scheduling of my being out of town works, but you can definitely expect an episode the week after that. And just please remember, shoot me your questions about the tarot, as well as letting me know if you would like a reading that we would be doing on the air. All right, everybody, have a great week. Enjoy this second week of August as we start to wrap up summer here in the Northern Hemisphere. And, grab your vacation, grab your quiet time while you can before things get busy. And I will look forward to talking to you in a week or so. In the meantime, be well and be kind and take care. Bye-bye.